The following program is brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.
The Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek Trust, supporting arts, history, science, and this program on KPTS.
Everyone's journey through life is different, and that's what makes this show so interesting. This week, a young woman who is used to reporting on the stories of others. But now we turn the table and report on her story. And there's so much more to it than you may realize. You know her as the glamorous, street-savvy crime reporter on Cake News. Lily Wu joined Channel 10 in 2010 and has made a name for herself as a hard-nosed go-to journalist who often scoops the competition. But when she's not digging for answers and breaking big stories, this one-woman dynamo is devoting her time to community efforts and promoting Wichita's Asian community through public service and pageants. And as interesting as her life is now, wait till you hear the backstory. Sit down and get comfortable because it's the life and times of Lily Wu on this edition, One-on-One. Hello, I'm Victor Hogstrom. Thanks for joining me as I go one-on-one with the beautiful and talented Lily Wu. Well, Lily, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure to be on here.
So tell us how much of the persona as a reporter did we see on television from you?
Well, it's pretty much me. I'm a very professional young lady. I grew up here in Wichita, Kansas, so it's pretty much what you see on camera is what you get in real life. I'm very open on social media, trying to show people who I am, both at work and also outside of work. And so I really do believe that what you see on camera is what you get. It's Lily Wu.
So who are you?
Well, I'm a Guatemalan Chinese American,
Wow.
which is really, really
mouthful.
strange, but I am. I was raised in Kansas, but I was born in Antigua, Guatemala. So I was raised there until I was 8 years old, but my parents are both Chinese. So I am full ethnic Chinese, and then we became US citizens after we came to America. So I'm a Guatemalan Chinese American living in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay. So how did your parents get to Guatemala?
Sure. So my parents were born and raised in Guangdong, China. So that's in the southern side of China. They met there, and then they got married, and eventually they knew that they wanted to come outside of China because they knew they wanted to raise a family outside of those boundaries that China had. And so thankfully my dad had family living abroad. And so my parents decided that the best way for them to get out of China would be to go and start their family in Guatemala. And my aunt lived there, and my parents moved to Antigua, had my brother Carlos and I there. And then after that, they knew that, their whole goal was that someday their children would be able to come to America. They knew that this was the land of opportunities, the land that they wanted their children to have for a better education and a better future. And so it took them 10 years before they were able to legally apply, become aliens, and then come to the United States. Then we obviously came to the US as legal residents, and then it takes quite a bit of time before you can become a US citizen. You have to go through testing, and so my parents went through all of that, and then I became a US citizen.
So you grew up in Wichita?
Yes.
And when you came to the United States, you moved to Wichita?
Yes, so my family moved directly from Antigua, Guatemala to Wichita because my grandfather lived here. So my grandfather and his side of the family, his sister and her husband started one of the first Chinese restaurants in Wichita, in downtown Wichita, called the Far East. And so they had the restaurant there, then they relocated to the east side of town. So basically, long story short, we had family wherever we moved.
And you attended Wichita State,
I did.
received 2 bachelor's degrees. Tell us about those degrees.
Absolutely. So I earned a bachelor's in international business from the business school and a Bachelor of Arts from the communication school in integrated marketing communication. So neither of them are journalism degrees, but in the back of my head, I always wanted to be a journalist. You see, when I came to the US, I didn't speak any English, and I learned English by watching the local news and Wheel of Fortune.
And Sesame Street.
I did watch that actually growing up. And the paintings during the weekends, I remember watching it with my little brother.
So what do you remember about those early days?
Well, being an 8-year-old here in Wichita.
Exactly.
Well, I remember the challenges of not knowing the language and not knowing the culture. So I learned not only the language, but really about American culture by watching television. So I always knew the power of TV. And I always tell people that television, especially local news reporters, were my teachers, were my out-of-classroom teachers. And so I always admired them, and now I get to be one of them. So I feel like I'm a teacher myself now.
So what interested you in journalism, in television and broadcast journalism?
I think it's the power of storytelling and the power of influence that you have as someone that is a reporter or a journalist in the community. I always, like I told you, I admired our reporters and anchors because they were basically the teachers I looked up to. And now I get to be one of them in the community that I grew up in.
But then you went abroad to further your education. You went to, it was not China at the time, it was the other, what's it called?
It was a territory. So,
yeah, territory.
So Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, that's
yes.
the name I'm looking for, right.
I attended University of Hong Kong and have my master's of journalism from there. I was fortunate enough to be a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar, and so winning that scholarship allowed me to go and further my studies after my undergraduates, and so I went to University of Hong Kong and pursued my studies there, while at the same time being an ambassador for Rotary.
So tell us about journalism in Hong Kong versus journalism in the United States.
Well, I would say it's very similar. So many people have the misconception that when I moved to Hong Kong, I had to learn an entire new language. Well, Hong Kong is a one country, two systems, meaning there is Chinese law there, but there is a very free enterprise system that is in existence in Hong Kong. And so they speak English. And so our method of speaking in the universities was English. So I really didn't need to learn a new language. I just so happened to know the language that they did speak in Hong Kong, which is Cantonese because of my parents. So the journalism in Hong Kong and here in the US, I would say, is fairly similar, meaning there is a lot of, obviously, freedoms. And because Hong Kong is such a free country, freedom of speech is obviously very upheld there.
So in view of your orientation, Guatemala background, born and raised there, Chinese parents, living in the United States, who is Lily Wu? Define yourself.
Define Lily Wu. Well, you know, I think that my purpose has always been to inspire and aspire. So I've always been motivated by you know, trying to reach what my parents felt was their American dream. So my parents came to this country thinking that, you know, by coming here, they would allow their children to have a better education. And for them, they knew that it would take a lot of hard work. And so I feel like every day I aspire to reach that American dream that they wanted for their kids. And I feel like every day I'm learning, so therefore every day I'm aspiring to accomplish that American dream for them. But I also hope to inspire. So for me, my biggest passion is helping young people understand that it's okay to be multicultural. I'm very proud to say I'm a very proud Guatemalan Chinese American, and that is my story. And I think it's important that people understand and understand their own cultures and their own background.
So Lily, in order to be successful in life, you have to have a clear message. What is your message?
My message is really embracing cultural diversity. As a past president of the Wichita Asian Association, and now the director of a scholarship pageant that really allows young women to understand that it's okay to embrace your ethnicity and your citizenship. I'm a proud US citizen, but at the same time, my cultural background is Chinese, and I'm very proud of that cultural heritage that I have. So that is my clear message, embracing your cultural diversity.
And so you speak Spanish, you speak
Cantonese
and English.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, I've tried learning Mandarin. It's a little bit more difficult than what it looks like. Even though I speak Cantonese, I don't know how to read or write Chinese. So I guess that's a fail on my part.
So tell us about what you enjoy doing besides work and family affairs and trying to aspire.
Absolutely. So now I'm in my 30s, and I think that it's always important to...
And you don't look it.
Oh, you're sweet. I'm in my 30s. I'm very proud to be in my 30s. And I think that now is a great time to really think about fitness and eating healthy. So I work out a lot. I love going to Orange Theory. I love working out with my boyfriend and taking the dog on a walk. So that is what I do on my downtime.
So what is it that you enjoy about being a television reporter?
I think what I love most about being a local television reporter is really being able to tell the stories of the people that I grew up knowing. Although right now I'm on the crime beat, it's not necessarily the happiest stories. Once in a while I get to do some really positive stories. And what I love is that I get to see more of the town that I love. On Friday, it was Wichita's birthday, so I got to do a happy story. And it's nice to be able to go and explore your own backyard. And this is my home, and I'm very proud to come from Wichita.
Now, the crime beat, it could be a dangerous beat too.
It can.
How do you deal with that?
Well,
Especially the dangerous aspect of it.
Yeah, well, I actually have really amazing photographers at Cake, and I always am partnered up with a photographer. I'm a reporter, and thankfully I also have a really great, amazing leadership team that understands that they don't want to put us in harm's way. So often when you see us, we're pretty far away from the crime scene. And when we are told that it is dangerous, if there is a perimeter set up, the police will tell us you can't be this close. And we abide by those rules because we obviously want to tell the stories of what's happening, but we also want to be safe. And we also want to tell the public, please don't come, because we have the direct information of where it is safe for us to be.
So let's talk about some personal things. Mm-hmm. With your orientation, what has been your worst experience in Wichita?
My worst experience in Wichita, well, I would have to go back to when I was younger, being in the playgrounds of Wichita. I grew up in public schools, and I do remember one time facing discrimination, telling me to go back to where I came from. The funny thing is, I think they were meaning that I should go back to China, but I was not from China, and I am a Guatemalan past citizen. So I think that it's difficult. When people see Wichita, they think that we're not as diverse as we are, and that's what I love showing, that we really do have diversity here in Wichita, Kansas, and we do embrace people's cultures. And so that negative experience actually fueled me into who I am today, because I really want people to see, when they see my face, they know I'm Wichita, Kansas, although I may look a little bit more different than what people typically think.
And I take it it's different today.
Oh, it is. I've had my fair share of comments of people that might say negative things, especially as a reporter. We have to have thick skin. I remember starting off in this field when people would make very negative comments, especially about my ethnicity. That's something I cannot change. I may be able to change my hair, but I cannot change the color of my skin or who I really am inside. And now in my 30s, as I mentioned to you, I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud to share my life story with people because I want them to also embrace who they are and where they come from.
And so you ended up working for Cake News. How did that happen?
Well, one of my wonderful mentors, Larry Hatterberg, happened to be at a Rotary meeting. I had just come back from Hong Kong and was sharing my story. And I did say that I just, earned my master's in journalism and I would love to get into that field. And it was Larry who introduced me to the Cake team. And thankfully, my news director back then, Dave Grant, really believed in me and saw my potential and took a chance on me.
What drives Lily Wu?
What drives Lily Wu? A lot of things, but I think the one thing that really does drive me with everything that I do is my family. It is central to who I am. It is who, those are the people that make me who I am now and who will make me a better person in the future. They always push me. And so for me, I do everything because of my family, because I love them that much.
Okay, so let's do something that I enjoy doing in this program. It's a little game we play.
Okay.
All right, and I will give you two options, and you tell me which you prefer and why. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Dog or cat?
Dog. I have my own dog. Her name is Aspen. She's a full Samoyed, and I love her so much.
Pizza or taco?
Pizza, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one because I love junk food and I like all types of food and fast food. As a reporter, as you probably know, those are the fastest things I can get. So that one's hard, but I'll go with pizza because it's easy and we have it on the weekends.
Taylor Swift or Foo Fighters?
Taylor Swift, because I like to sing along when I'm in the car by myself, and I think I can sing maybe a couple of lyrics from Taylor's songs.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook. I'm the Facebook generation. I still use Facebook, and I think that it's the best way to communicate with people and show who you are personally. So follow me on Facebook then.
PC or Mac?
Mac. So I'm an iPhone girl, and I have a Mac, so definitely Mac. Very clean lines, very modern and user-friendly. I love it.
Spring or fall?
Spring or fall? Fall, because I was born in the fall, and so I love fall colors, and I'm a fall girl.
Morning or night?
Probably night. I like my sleep, and I do like coming home after work and relaxing, so I would say night.
So, is there a special someone in your life?
There is. He's amazing. His name is Steven, and we've been together for almost 5 years now, and we have a dog together, so that's a very special person in my life.
And so where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I see myself as an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to start something. I don't know what that will be, but I will be an entrepreneur at some point, a mother, a wife, and I would love to continue still doing what I do, and that is telling people stories here in my hometown.
What stories do you enjoy telling the best?
You know, my favorite stories are about people who are leaders in this community, and that's what I love most. There are a lot of leaders in our community, not just in business, but in many spectrums of life, from community service all the way to in politics. And I really love telling people's stories, especially people's leadership stories.
So if the mayor were being interviewed by you, the mayor of Wichita, what question would you ask him?
Well, Mayor Longwell, I would like to know how do you see yourself in 10 years? Not just yourself, but how do you see Wichita in 10 years? And how are you doing, what are you doing to make that a reality?
So the question then to you is, what are you doing to make your dream a reality?
Well, as of right now, I love what I do as a reporter at Cake, and so I'm building those steps to someday be able to do more positive stories here in our community. And, you know, like I told you, my entrepreneurial spirit has never died, so I continue to want to help out people, learn about themselves, and maybe that might be a career path that I might take.
So what makes you happy as a person?
What makes me happy as a person? I think just finding positives in everything that's around you. I try to think of the positive things that are just around. I like to not think of things as half empty, but half full. So that glass will always be half full.
What about as a professional?
As a professional, what motivates me with that?
Yes.
Well, I would say that just knowing that, you know, being an Asian American on TV in Kansas is something that is very impactful for my Asian community. And so I want to be able to be sensitive about the stories that I tell with the perspective of being a woman, of being a Guatemalan, of being a Chinese, and being an American.
Has it been challenging being a reporter on television in Wichita?
It has, as I mentioned.
Tell us about those challenges.
Yeah, as I mentioned to you at the very beginnings of my career in TV here in Wichita, being an Asian American was not necessarily what a lot of people were used to, especially someone that was new to TV. And so I would get a lot of negative comments. And even to this day, I might get a few here and there. And I really wish that people would understand that this is a profession that's not easy. It's a profession where we have to have very thick skin because people make a lot of different comments. But if you get to know the person, which I hope people do, they get to know these reporters, they will know that we're just humans just like them. We have feelings just like them, and to be careful about what you do say.
So what would you mind sharing the worst comment you've received?
The worst comment?
And the best, of course.
Okay. Well, the worst comment, I think someone actually took the time and took a clipping of how my hair should be so I could be, quote, less Oriental, which first of all, it should be less Asian, but I'm Asian no matter what, and a hairstyle will not make me less of that, you know, ethnic background. So that was very, very negative, but they did take the time and sent me this long letter that basically said, you look too Asian. So that was negative, but the positive one that I have received, I once had one viewer tell me that they liked how I told stories and that they could see glimpses of Larry Hatteberg in there. And I really admire Larry and his work, and just knowing that he has influenced the way that I tell stories was the greatest compliment I could get.
Wow. You know, Susan Peters had a similar experience with the hair thing, and it affected her significantly as she told her story on this program. Did this hair thing affect you, or how much did it affect you?
Well, initially, when I really received that letter, it did take me aback because, I mean, the core of that comment was not about really my hair. It was more about who I am, an Asian American. And I cannot change that, and I don't want to change that. I can cut my hair to make it shorter, but this long hair is mine, and I am very proud of my long hair. It probably needs a little trim. Mom needs to do a haircut. My mom's a hairstylist.
Well, on that note, I'll give you one opportunity to tell me how or what words of encouragement do you have for others, Asian reporters, want-to-bes, who would like to follow in your footsteps. What would you say to them?
Well, I think that what I would say is not just follow your heart, but follow your brain. I think the best thing about being a reporter with a background in business and communications is I always pursued education first. And as a reporter, I think you need to have a breadth of different knowledge bases. And for me, it has been being able to know so many different topics, maybe not an expert in each of them, but just having that breadth of knowledge. So I would encourage Asian American journalists and journalists, aspiring journalists in general, to not just think about journalism as a career, but think about the different topics that you're interested in. And I'm interested in business, so encourage people to continue to pursue higher education or any type of education that will improve you. And then if you want to become a reporter, you can go knock on the doors of our news directors.
On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor,
for joining us one-on-one. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
And thank you for watching this week's edition of One-on-One. If you have questions or comments about the show, or if you would like to recommend a guest for a future show, email us at oneononekpts.org. Until next time, I'm Victor Hogstrom. Thanks for watching.
The Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek Trust, supporting arts, history, science, and this program on KPTS.
The preceding program was brought to you by TZ Productions, offering 40 years of media experience.